Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining Vani and me for the 57th edition of Bliss Catchers. My name is Avis, and there is Vani on the screen.
Hello, people. This is Vani.
We are the Happiness Walas. Google us, HAPPYNESSWALAS. We are the Happiness Walas. Our life's purpose, we believe, is inspiring happiness. We're going through a fascinating, life-changing experience. We're dealing with a crippling bankruptcy for the last 14 years. And through this dark, challenging phase of our life, where materially, financially, our life is completely broken, we have awakened to understanding that it is possible to be happy despite our circumstances. So, intuitively and through conversations between me and Vani, we've learned the art of being non worrying, being non frustrated, and non suffering. We told ourselves that the way to deal with our crisis is to be able to last the journey, to be able to stay in the game and not to give up on life. And to do that, we had to train our mind to be non worrying, non frustrated, and non suffering. And that we discovered led us to being happy despite our circumstances. So we asked ourselves, so how can we be useful with this learning? We are not successful. Success continues to be elusive. We don't get enough income to even cover our living expenses. And at most times in this past decade, for 14 years, we've been dealing with this crisis. At most times during this past decade, we have been dealing with long spells of worklessness and even pennilessness. So success is elusive, but we asked ourselves, how can we be useful? So in 2014, I wrote my book, Fall Like a Rose Petal. I'll share my screen here so you can see the book. There it's coming up here. Fall Like a Rose Petal was released in 2014, where I share learnings on how to live happily and content while living without money. And the Tamil translation of this book by the legendary Charu Kesi, titled Udirum Roja Idar Pola, was released in 2019. Both books are available on Amazon. We also retooled our consulting business, and we today run a small boutique consulting firm where we explore lessons on life and happiness. We distill lessons on life and happiness, exploring human stories, and inspire managers to be happy and to be high performers. So you can go to www.happynesswalas.com. It's on your screen there to know more about what we do and why we do what we offer, and understand how we do it. We also started in 2015 a live, reflective, non-commercial conversations on the idea of happiness. So we have two series that we currently run. One is called the Happiness Conversations, where we look at the journeys of people who have every reason to be unhappy. They have every reason to be unhappy in life, and yet they've chosen to be happy despite their circumstances. That's the Happiness Conversations. And the second series is the Bliss Catchers, the one that you're attending today, that you've joined us today for. This series looks at the journeys of people who have gone on to do what they love doing in life. So both these conversation series are supported by the Odyssey bookstore here in Chennai. They used to be held, our conversations used to be held live in the bookstore in Adyar. And they were open to public, free, they are non-commercial events. And after the pandemic broke, since March, we've been hosting these conversations on Zoom. So we have a wider audience that we are reaching. Today, for instance, we have people, somebody from Trincomalee, we have somebody from Varanasi, somebody from Vellore, somebody from Muscat, and a few people from Chennai. And more people may join in the next few minutes. So we've been able to reach a wider audience. The Bliss Catchers is a celebration of the philosophy of Joseph Campbell, the mythologist and author. He's from the United States, and he talked about the idea of bliss as being something that we must not postpone. He, in fact, said, "Follow your bliss, and doors will open where others can see only walls, but you will be able to see those doors." So we celebrate that philosophy of Joseph Campbell by talking to people who have chosen to follow their bliss themselves. You see, all of us are conditioned by the way we are raised, conditioned by society's demands to focus on earning a living. But Campbell and his philosophy talks about also living. So it's not only about earning a living, and he says, do not postpone your living paradigm, because if you focus only on earning a living, it might be too late for you to go on to do what you love doing. So basically, the essence of that message is don't postpone what makes you happy. And doing what you love doing always makes you happy. So we explore the journeys of people who have had the courage to step out of their earning a living comfort zones and go on to do what they love doing. We've been doing this for 5 years now. We've, met over 100 and like our guests today are number 112 and 113. So over 100 guests have featured in our series so far. And what we have found in all this time, in talking to all these people who have gone on to follow their bliss, is that number one, each one of them has seen doors open for them. Number two, they have chosen not to postpone their happiness because they found that the cost of postponing it is higher than the cost of following it. So they've gone on to do what they love doing because they believe that they can't be postponing it anymore. The third is they have done what they love doing and they have found it to be profitable, which is if you're good at something and you become world class at it, then you can earn money. So it's not as if bliss is a sacrifice. Following your bliss is a sacrifice. It really, the pattern that we are noticing in the journeys of all these people is that bliss is profitable. And for all these over 100 bliss catchers, we have noticed that bliss is not a hobby. It is the very reason why they live. Their bliss is the reason why they live. And this is beautifully captured in a film. This entire journey of the Bliss Catchers is captured beautifully in a film called The Reason Why You Live, made by Ramnath Chandrasekhar, a Bliss Catcher himself and a conservation educator. You can catch it on my YouTube channel. It's a 12-minute film, and it was made last year to celebrate the 50th edition of this series. So this is really what our Bliss Catchers are doing. They are going forward with their lives, celebrating the reason why they live. You know, Hafiz, 14th century Persian poet Hafiz said that the rose's beauty is very dear. Enjoy its petals when they are here. As soon as they come, they're gone, he says. Life is like that. It's very fragile, it's impermanent, and before you know it, it has slipped past your hands. So if you understand that life is a limited period offer, then you will not postpone what gives you happiness. You will not postpone your bliss. This season, which is the 6th year of doing Bliss Catchers, this season is dedicated to the memory of very special bliss catcher who we lost in February this year. His name is Sri Krishna Shivakumar. Krishna qualified to be an engineer, but went on to make films. And he featured in our fourth season in the June 2018 edition of Bliss Catchers alongside Flute Giant. Unfortunately, in the accident that you must all be aware of that happened on the sets of Indian 2 in February, Krishna passed on. But he led a beautiful life. He lived a life of meaning. It was a short life, and it was a life of meaning because he followed what he believed in and what he loved doing, which was making films. So this entire season, 2020 season, is dedicated to his memory and to celebrate his short but meaningful life. Today, at the end of the sixth season, in edition 57, we have with us two special bliss catchers. We have Aditya Ramkumar, the musician, and the stand-up paddler Kumaran Mahalingam. Both of them are joining us this evening, and they've made the time to be with us. I'll be introducing them very shortly, but I'm going to kind of help the audience understand the format a little bit. I see a lot of new people in the audience today. So we are, going to be in conversation, Aditya, Kumaran, and myself for 90 minutes, all the way till 8:30. We do not have an audience Q&A segment. So this conversation will really end between the three of us and sharp at 8:30. We started on time and we will finish on time. The audience will be placed on mute at all times. We will not be responding to raised hands or to chat messages during the conversation. You're, however, free to leave your reactions and comments in the chat box, and we'll pick it up at the end of the conversation. Please keep your videos turned off for the duration of this conversation, because we'll be squeezing bandwidth for recording this conversation. In case of a power outage at our end, which is at Vani and my end, we will be right back in a couple of minutes. This building that we are in has a power backup facility, but in a couple of minutes we'll be back. This is in case there is a power outage or an internet outage. In case you are experiencing audio or video difficulties, please leave the meeting and join back, and Vani will admit you because it could be just Zoom issues settling in. So those are the few guidelines for today's meeting. And let me now proceed by introducing our bliss catchers and start the conversation with them. So Kumaran is someone that we came to know of through the newspapers. We read an article on Kumaran, I think it was in the Hindu, and I kind of pinned it down for reference and research later, because our conversations are forward curated, and I felt intuitively that there would be a powerful story there. When we started exploring his story, we discovered that he's connected with Ramnath Chandrasekhar, who is the conservation educator and a bliss catcher who made the film that I talked about. And so Ramnath made the connection between Kumaran and us. We sat down and had coffee with him. And what struck Vani and me about Kumaran is his very quiet, grounded sense of enjoying the process of life. In young people, you see a restlessness. There is this restlessness in Kumaran as well, but it's different. In Kumaran, the restlessness is a zest for life. There is a hunger, there's a thirst that life is a limited period offer, and I want to enjoy every moment of it. He is not plagued by insecurity or worry or frustration or all those elements. He invests himself completely in stand-up paddling, in nature, and in the work he does as a geologist. In fact, it was a career low as a geologist that led him to stand-up paddling, and he felt that it gave him an instant connection. He went on to notch up several records You can Google him and you'll find all of them over there. He's done stand-up paddling in 50 lakes across 3 countries, and even holds the world record for stand-up paddling at the highest altitude in Ladakh, in a lake in Ladakh. So for Kumaran, though all these records now mean nothing, for him now, stand-up paddling is a means for him to live a life of purpose. He's blended his professional expertise in geology with his love for stand-up paddling to promote awareness through his organization, Paddle for Future, to promote awareness for conservation of our water bodies. He sums it up in one line. He says, stand-up paddling has given me my life's purpose. And I don't think anything can be more beautiful than that as a summary. So I'm going to be talking about why is it his life's purpose in today's conversation with Kumaran. Aditya, interestingly, we connected with Aditya through a reference from a journalist. She had come to interview Vani and me, and she heard about our journey, she heard about Bliss Catchers, and she said, Avis and Vani, you must meet this young gentleman called Aditya, who I have written about, and she sent me the link to the article that she had written about him. We read the article, and we actually reached out to Aditya, not knowing too much about his musical background. And we normally meet people for one coffee, but we ended up meeting Aditya for 2 coffees, because one of the things special about Bliss Catchers is that we are not exploring hobbies here. We are exploring journeys of people who believe it's their very life. What they're doing is their very life. And what emerged out of those 2 coffee conversations with Aditya is his undiluted love for music. And to imagine that he would have actually been a cricketer, because he was leading his cricket school team and he was playing good cricket. But a chance rendition of Mannipaya from Vinnai Thandi Varuvaya in a school assembly led him to KM Conservatory, Music Conservatory, A.R. Rahman School. And there he found his horizons expanding. There he found wings to his dream. There he found a kind of world-class architecture for thinking music and creating music. And although he is a qualified chartered accountant, he is a company secretary, and he also leads his family's organic farm, Aditya believes that he has been created on this planet to make music. He says, I wake up every day to make music because it fulfills me, it completes me. And we're going to explore, why does Aditya believe so? So those are our 2 guests for this evening. Aditya and Kumaran, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Bliss Catchers. Are we all set? Was that a reasonably good introduction to the 2 of you?
Amazing, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get on with the conversation, and let me start first with you, Kumaran. One of the things that strikes me about your journey is that it was by sheer serendipity, by sheer a fortunate accident that you actually connected with stand-up paddling. You were experiencing a low in your career as a geologist, and you were searching for something, you didn't know what it was, and that's when stand-up paddling comes into your life. So this happened sometime in December 2014, if I'm not wrong. So my question is, what exactly happened in that time, and how did this quote-unquote instant connection happen for you with stand-up paddling? We'll refer to stand-up paddling as SUP for people on the in the audience, just so that it's easier for all of us to relate to it. So what exactly happened, Kumaran?
So good evening, everyone. Vanakkam, thank you. So as Sir said, I'm a geologist. I work in oil and gas. 2014, everyone knows there was a huge oil crisis and the market went down. So 2007 to 14, the ஏழு வருஷம் வந்து I was doing on and off most of the time. On and off na 3 weeks வேலை செய்வேன், 3 weeks வந்து off. So 14 end, there was a crisis and everything changed. So there was a huge job insecurity all around the world. At the same time, ஒரு இன்செக்யூரான ஒரு விஷயம் இருக்கும்போது I'm more mountain person, mountain and nature person. Though I was from coastal city, surfing வந்து எதர்ச்சியா நான் பார்த்தேன் ஒரு ad. Then okay, let me join பண்ணலாம்னு சொல்லிட்டு கோவலத்துல I was doing the surfing. I was enrolled for a discover surfing session 10 days. So December, it's a cyclone prone season. So adula enna aachu, the sea was very choppy. First day we did, and the second day sea was so choppy you cannot enter also. My coach, he said, okay, he convinced me, okay, ஒரு class waste பண்ண வேணாம், let me introduce to stand up paddling. Stand up paddling na ஒரு பெரிய போர்டு, அதுல நின்னுட்டு துடுப்பு வச்சு you have to move. He took me to a quarry. Quarry முன்னாடி பார்த்திருக்கேன், ஆனா இந்த quarry கோலத்திலே ரொம்ப பிரம்மாண்டமா இருந்தது. There was an instant connection. I felt very vulnerable first time. After a long time I felt ஒரு மாதிரி பயம் இருந்தது எனக்கு. இந்த பாத்தீங்கன்னா as a geologist I was modeling எவ்வளவு ஆழம் இருக்கும், கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 60 அடி குவாரி அது. ஸோ அதுல எப்படி இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் பண்ண போறோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தது. அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒரு 15 மினிட்ஸ் பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த பேலன்ஸ் வந்து அது ஒரு புது ஸ்கில் செட். அது அப்படியே ஒரு 15 மினிட்ஸ்ல எனக்கான ஒரு ஸ்போர்ட்ஸா இருந்தது. ஸோ அப்படிதான் சார் அது ஆரம்பிச்சது. அப்புறம் ஒரு 2 monthsல வாட் ஹேப்பன், அண்ட் ஐ காட் அ லாங் லீவ் தட் டைம். ஸோ எவ்ரி டே ஐ வில் பி கோயிங் டு கோவலம், every day. So once I picked up sports, every day I was talking with the fishermen. அப்புறம் அந்த as a geology student geographyயும் படிச்சிருக்கேன். கடலை பற்றி புரிஞ்சாலும் அந்த from the fisherman அதுக்கப்புறம் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர்ஸ் கிட்ட இருந்து நிறைய புரிதல் இருந்தது. அண்ட் மை ஹோம் இஸ் நியர் மேடவாக்கம், நிறைய வாட்டர் பாடிஸ்லாம் இருக்கும். ஸோ அங்கேயும் கொஞ்சம் ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டேன். 2 months வந்து கான்ஸ்டன்டா வந்து ஐ வாஸ் டூயிங் திஸ் ப்ராக்டிஸ். அண்ட் ஐ வாஸ் வெரி கிளியர் அந்த டைம்ல. ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் மை ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ். ஏன் அந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் அப்படின்னா ஐ லவ் நேச்சர். அட் த சேம் டைம் நான் இருந்த பள்ளிக்கரணை வந்து சுருங்கிக்கிட்டே இருந்தது எல்லா நீர்நிலைகளையும். ஸோ அதை வச்சு ஒன்று பண்ணலாம், வி கேன் கனெக்ட் த பீப்புள் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு ஐடியா அப்படி ஆரம்பிச்சது சார்.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Okay, I have a short question to ask you. அதை கேட்டுட்டு I'll do the summary. அந்த இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கனெக்ஷன் சொல்றீங்களே, அதை கொஞ்சம் டிஸ்கிரைப் பண்ண முடியுமா?
ஸோ இன்ஸ்டன்ட் அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் அதை போய் நான் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கும் போது இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எனக்கு வருமானே தெரியல. இட் லுக் வெரி டஃப் ஃபார் மீ. பட் ஐ வாஸ் சில ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் வந்து சில பேருக்கு வந்து ஈஸியா வந்து நம்மளோட பாடி காம்போசிஷனுக்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி செட் ஆகும். ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங் இட் ஹேப்பன் டு மீ. ஐ வாஸ் வெரி ஈஸி டு டூ பேட்லிங். வித்தின் 2 days வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஐ வாஸ் டூயிங் வெரி குட். அந்த சேம் டைம் நான் இது வரைக்கும் அந்த சர்ஃப் 10 நாள் கோர்ஸே முடிக்கல. ஐ ஸ்விட்ச்ட் ஓவர் டு ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் பேட்லிங்.
வாவ், ஓகே.
சோ அதுதான் அந்த ஒரு இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கனெக்ஷன் ஆனிச்சு, ஃபீல் ஆச்சு எனக்கு.
So you went to do surfing, but you ended up embracing stand-up paddling. Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are listening in, just the simple thing is there was a career low. He wanted to do something to keep himself occupied and engaged with nature. So he tried surfing. Because of the choppy seas, it didn't work out, and there was stand-up paddling waiting for him. My takeaway, Kumaran, is that Rumi says this very beautifully. He says, what you are seeking is seeking you. So உங்களுக்குள்ள இருந்த தேடல் வந்து உங்களுக்குள்ள மட்டும்தான் இருக்குன்னு நம்ம நினைக்கிறோம். We are searching for something and we think it's only within us. But the same search is also happening from creation, from nature. And nature also wants you. And that is how the connection happens. That is the instant connection.
That's what happened that day.
Campbell இதை இன்னொரு அழகா சொல்லுவார். Campbell ஒரு நெக்ஸ்ட் லெவலுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு போவாரு. If Rumi is very spiritual, Campbell brings it to a more practical plane, and he says that unless only if you give up the life that you have planned, you can experience the life that is waiting for you. So the work professional side of your life, you decided at that time for circumstantial reason and your own choice to park it for a while and take a deep dive into nature, and there was life waiting for you. So there is amazing beauty there in your experience. And for the benefit of people on the call, I want to share that ஒரு தேடல் வந்தா, if you're searching or if you're feeling lost in life, if you're feeling low in life, if you're feeling incomplete, if you enjoy your drink like me, please have a drink. Do not sit and mourn the fact that ஐயோ என் வாழ்க்கையில என்ன நடக்கும்னு எனக்கு தெரியலையே. Actually, if you feel lost, it's a time to celebrate, because only if you feel lost can you find yourself. This is the truth about life. And so feeling lost is not a sin. Feeling lost, it doesn't mean that your life is going to collapse. Feeling incomplete doesn't mean that you are never going to feel fullness. Feeling that way is a very natural process of life telling you, gale lagja. That's what is happening. வா என்ன அணைச்சுக்கோ அப்படின்னு வாழ்க்கை சொல்லுது. அதுதான் அந்த தேடல் நமக்குள்ள. So beautiful. Let me ask you a question related to this instant connection that you had. So if you had this instant connection, and if you look at the last 6 years of your life, particularly from December 2014 to almost December 2020 now, 6 years left, you've done so much in the space of stand-up paddling, which has even led you to from records to purpose. And we'll talk about that later. But my question is, have you ever thought that maybe I need not have done geology, I should have done only stand-up paddling all my life? அந்த கேள்வி எப்போது வந்திருக்கா?
அது மாதிரி இல்லவே இல்லை. எப்படி ஆரம்பிச்சதுன்னா, நான் சென்னை சிட்டில தான் பிறந்து வளர்ந்தேன். பட் கோஸ்டல் சிட்டில இருந்தாலும் சின்ன வயசுல இருந்து மவுண்டன்ஸ் மேல ஒரு பெரிய காதல் எனக்கு. எனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச பெரிய மலையெல்லாம் டில் காலேஜ் செகண்ட் இயர் வரைக்கும் செங்கல்பட்டு மலை தான். பிகாஸ் ஐ எம் ஃப்ரம் எ டெல்டா. மை நேட்டிவ் பிளேஸ் இஸ் தஞ்சாவூர். அங்கேயும் ஒண்ணுமே இருக்காது. ஸோ எல்லாமே நீர்நிலைகள் சார்ந்தே தான் இருந்தது. பட் மவுண்டன்ஸ் மேல எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். ஸோ ஒரு 8th படிக்கும் போது ஒரு அங்கிள், பெங்காலி அங்கிள், இஸ் மை ஃபேமிலி ஃப்ரெண்ட், அவங்க வீட்டுக்கு வந்திருந்தாங்க. அப்பதான் ஒரு வார்த்தை இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்றாங்க, ஜியாலஜின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. ஸோ ஜியாலஜி தான் எர்த் சயின்ஸ். ஸோ இது மாதிரி கூட படிப்பு இருக்கான்னு எனக்கு தெரியாது. ஸோ அந்த இன்னொரு பெரிய விஷயம் என்னன்னா, அப்பெல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த அவேர்னஸ் கிடையாது நம்மளுக்கு. ஸோ ஜியாலஜினா ஃபார் அஸ் இட்ஸ் ஆல் ஜியோகிராஃபி, ரைட்? ஸோ ஸ்கூல்ல ஜியாலஜினே கிடையாது. அப்பயே நான் ஒரு முடிவு எடுத்தேன், ஸோ ஜியாலஜி படிச்சா வி வில் பி க்ளோஸ் வித் த நேச்சர்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அதுக்கப்புறம் நான் படிச்சு +2 முடிக்கும் போது இட்ஸ் ஆல்னா இன்ஜினியர் தான் படிச்சுட்டு இருப்பாங்க. அப்ப அது மாதிரி ஒரு கிரேஸா இருந்தது. ஸோ அந்த டைம்ல போய் ஐ ஜாயின்டு ஜியாலஜி, என்ரோல் இன்டு ஜியாலஜி. ஸோ அது ரொம்ப சேலஞ்சா எடுத்துட்டு படிச்சு பிஎஸ்சி படிச்சு முடிக்கும் போதே இந்த வேலைக்கு வந்துட்டேன். இட்ஸ் பீன் லைக் இயர் ஆல்சோ ஆல்மோஸ்ட் 19 இயர்ஸ் கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணிட்டேன். இது 20th இயர் இது. அதுக்கப்புறம் எம்எஸ்சி ஜியோகிராஃபிலாம் படிச்சோம். அப்படிதான் இருந்தது. ஸோ அதுவும் ஒரு அந்த இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கனெக்ஷன் தான். ஜியாலஜி நேச்சருக்காக இருந்தோம், அப்புறம் ஜியாலஜிக்குள்ள வந்தோம். ஸோ இது இப்படிதான் சார். ஸோ இது ஜியாலஜி எஸ்யூபி ரெண்டுமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா 2 கண்ணு மாதிரி எனக்கு சார். ஸோ பிகாஸ் அந்த ஒரு ஜியாலஜியோட அந்த சென்ஸ், அந்த என்ன சொல்றது, அந்த அறிவுல இருந்துதான் ஐ டிஃபைன் மை பர்பஸ் ஆஃப் ஸ்டாண்டப் பேட்லிங். சும்மா வெறும் ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் மட்டும் கிடையாது. whenever I see a water body, I will see different features into that. அதோட சைஸ் என்ன, எப்படி பொல்யூஷன் ஆகுது. ஸோ இந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் நாலேஜ்லாம் வந்து இட் given me more value why I am doing this stand-up paddling.
So you see them blending. You see them blending very powerfully.
Whatever we do, it's all என்னமோ தெரியல, எல்லாம் happened. நேச்சரா இருக்கட்டும், அந்த அவர் வந்து சொன்னது ஜியாலஜி, அப்புறம் அந்த நிறைய ட்ரக் போனது கான்சர்வேஷன், அப்புறம் ராம்நாத் சந்திரசேகர். ஸோ இது மாதிரி நிறைய பீப்புள் ஸ்டார்ட், ஆஸ் யூ சே, நேச்சர் வில் பிக் யூ. உங்களுக்கு அந்த இன்டென்ஷன் ரொம்ப கிளீனா இருக்கணும். And it picked up. So that's what happened even in stand-up paddling.
Beautiful. ஒரு சின்ன கேள்வி இங்க. If that uncle had not come home, that uncle from Bengal had not come home and had not talked about geology, நீங்க என்னவா ஆகணும்னு ஆசைப்பட்டுட்டு இருந்தீங்க?
நான் வந்து பைலட் ஆகணும்னு நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். அது வரைக்கும் பைலட் ஆகணும்னு நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். அப்புறம் ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ்ல ஃபாரன்சிக் சயின்ஸ் படிக்கணும், அது ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான ஜாப் அப்படின்னு தான் நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். So once he came, அப்படியே it all changed. Yeah.
So mark the key points he's saying. One is எனக்கு mountain மேல ஒரு காதல். I love mountains. That's a poor translation, by the way. mountain mela or kadal is cannot be translated. There is a romance that I have with mountains. That might be better. Secondly, he says that all these connections kind of happened on their own, and he's kind of bewildered by it. And the third thing he says is that if because I studied geology, I can see that everything that I'm doing in stand-up paddling is in a way connected with the science of geology, and so he's able to apply those learnings in even estimating the depth of a water body or how we will paddle in that space. So there is a confluence that's happening. அது again I'll quote Rumi because அதான் இப்போ வருது எனக்கு. He says that everything, live your life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So நீங்க இந்த கான்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ்னு பார்க்கிறது வந்து is a conspiracy by life to make everything happen for you in a connected space. But social conditioning எப்படினாக்கா we all quickly conclude ஒரு certain thing நம்மளுக்கு கிடைக்கலனாக்கா we all quickly conclude that there is a conspiracy to finish us off னு நினைக்கிறோம். We think that it's out there, the life is out there to finish us off, but actually there is a conspiracy for you to go do what you love doing, and all of that connects events, people, places, all of that happens. So Rumi says, live your life as if everything is rigged in your favor. And that's what happened. The Bengali uncle comes, the love for mountains is explored, geology happens, and then a career low happens, and then there is a stand-up paddling comes in, and now you see, and as we explore the purpose part of it later on, you will see how all of this adds up to something more powerful, more meaningful. Thank you, Kumaran, for sharing that. Nariya thoughts in mind lo odittu irundhudu, so you triggered them. Thank you so much. Let me now pause your story and go to Aditya's story on the other side, and come back to you in a bit. So Aditya, young, happening Aditya, my first question to you is, I am also a PSBB alumni. So I do remember being summoned to the school assembly for going late. I was never asked to sing a song, mercifully, because I can hardly sing to save my life. But I typically see that in a school assembly, when you are invited to perform, to deliver a talk or sing, it can be just a momentary spotlight for a young teenager. How did it in your life? How did that Manipaya rendition go on to change your life, Aditya? What really happened?
Yeah, I was actually never into music. My parents pushed me into music when I was about 6 to 7 years old. I used to learn, I used to bunk the music classes and head out to play cricket. So cricket, as you said, was always my first love. And it so happened that I was in my, 12th grade, and we used to have, a general assembly functions every Friday in PSBB, and there used to be a lot of events, be it shipwreck or, ADZAP and stuff. So when it was music session, I thought, I was always an introvert. I have a small group of friends. I just play cricket. I attend classes. I leave. I just thought, why not give it a shot? We have nothing to lose, and music is probably the only thing I can probably participate, because I'm not funny. I cannot participate in anything else. So what I thought is, why not give it a shot? And it was Manipaya from the movie VTV, which was supposedly raging that time. And I not even watched the movie. I was never a movie person back then. And then once I sang that, the kind of appreciation that I received was, I never expected people to react that way, and it got me to a different world. And 1 week after that, I was on a high. I just, with a group of friends, we bunked school. We were heading out to eat pani puri. And what accidentally happened is, my vice principal back then caught me bunking class. And I was wearing earphones, singing Urvasi, Urvasi, and she was right in front of me. And then she called me back to school. She's like, "You're bunking school and you've been doing all this. You've been up to a lot of mischief off late and stuff like that. And exactly 1 week later, my vice principal came into the classroom. She said, Mrs. YGP wants to meet you. And my class is known to be such a notorious class. The commerce section is a group of very, very noisy group. And there was pin drop silence, and I was getting inside her room. And she first asked me, "So you don't like coming to school?" I said, "I do love school." And she said, "Then why do you bunk school and head out with your friends?" I said, "That's something I shouldn't have done, but I did that. I did do that." And then the next second she says, "I heard that you have a very good voice and you sing really well." I saw the child in her actually coming out, and she asked me to do a couple of songs for her. And I was not classically trained, or I did not know much of songs back then, but I had a couple of side bhajans back then, and I did give her a rendition, and she was very appreciative of that. A large number of teachers were also there, and they were really, really appreciative of that. And then just before my board exams, she usually comes in to give the kumkum for every student before the first board exam. And she again remembered me, and she said, "Have you done something about your music?" And that's when she told me about all these exams, and all this is always there, but try to do something serious with your music. And a lot of your alumni have been part of the KM Music Conservatory with AR Rahman sir, and you could probably do something like that. And after the board exams, I went to KM Music College, and that's where I felt the connection with music. That's
So
where it all began.
what happened when you went to college, when you went to the KM school? What really happened when you say connection, like Kumaran was talking about? Can you give me a vivid description of that connection?
So the connection, I would say that it was like a heaven of music. Like I saw people playing different genres of music from each room. I was listening to music, Qawwali style in a particular room. I was seeing somebody play the Russian piano, and it was like a wonderland for me. For a person who has not even heard much of music throughout my life. It was such a wonderland for me, and there was some kind of instant connect for me. So I think it cannot be expressed by words. It's a feeling, and it has to be felt.
What you just said now, Aditya, that is the most profound element about bliss. You cannot find words to express it. You can search for words, like when you hear a great composition or when you create a great composition yourself. You feel you're levitating, right? You feel you are higher than being on the ground, and you feel elevated. That is what bliss does to you. So I'm so glad you shared that feeling that you really can't describe it. But for the audience's sake, what I really want to point out here is, can you see the dots connecting here? Without Manipaya rendition in the audience, in the school assembly, Aditya would never have made it to the KM school. Without being at the KM school, he would not have connected with the heaven of music. He would not have connected with this feeling that this is this the, there are no words to describe this experience for somebody who probably trained in music like all children, but never really thought of it as something that he would do all his life. Right? Am I right, Aditya?
Yeah, spot on.
So that's what I'm picking up, and you can also see the dots connecting with Kumaran's story there, because both of them talk about instant connection. Both of them talk about almost as if this was not on their cards. Like Kumaran never thought he's going to be doing stand-up paddling, and Aditya never thought he was going to be doing music, and yet there was life conspiring to create a set of circumstances that led them both to make those choices. So this is beautiful, Aditya. Thank you for sharing that. Let me now talk to you a little more about your journey at KM School. So learning music there, and I think you went through a 4-year rigorous program. Learning music there, what did it teach you about yourself and about life, Aditya?
So I think my experience at KM Music was such a life-changing experience. just for the fact that the kind of people or the kind of musicians who came there were very, very serious musicians. They were really serious about what they wanted to do. They were world class. They were one of the country's most talented musicians. So what I learned from there is, to be on the top, there's always a requirement of persistence and practice and hard work. And irrespective of the fact that you're talented, you cannot afford to slow down on your hard work and stuff like that. And I used to be in frequent touch with the leading playback singers in the industry, and the kind of commitment they have, and the how punctual they are. We used to have sessions even at 4 a.m., and even for those sessions they used to be so punctual, though they didn't have to for the kind of talent they had. And another learning I had with KM is to be yourself, because there are a large number of musicians there, and everybody had their own individual flavors. And it was very important to not get carried away by seeing somebody who's better than you, and sticking to your basics and sticking to your strength was something that's very crucial. Because when somebody sees somebody like an Arjit Singh, you feel that you must sing in that particular way to be commercially very lucrative. But a huge lesson that even I learned from Rahman sir was to be yourself and stick to what you are good at, and trust that you are good at something, and you have to place a trust in a process. And another thing I learned is, there is talent on one side, but without hard work, I don't think any kind of talent is going to pay off. I've seen people who are prodigies. I've been privileged enough to see people who come up with compositions with the lyrics spontaneously. And I've been talking to you about my Sufi guru, Mr. Munna. He's been such a glorious talent to our country, and when I see musicians like that, it's quite inspiring, to say the least. And uh, what KM taught me is to be myself, to work hard, and to always see groundedness. To a lot of musicians I've met, they're so talented and still very, very grounded, and that's a big takeaway.
And to be world class, if I may add.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And to be world class. Your articulation itself is so amazing for your age. The way you articulated your learning, you're like gleaning the learnings out of a 4-year experience that happened probably a few years ago, as if it happened to you yesterday. That shows how much you have soaked in that environment. That shows how much you have gained from that experience. And I specifically liked the part where you talked about that you were inspired not to imitate somebody, but to be yourself. You were inspired not to imagine that you're falling short because somebody is commercially more successful than you are. And that brings me to a quality that Vani and I noticed in you, which is you have a hunger to do something. You have ambition, bubbling inside you. But your ambition is very grounded, and that's beautiful. People, there are two kinds of ambitions. One ambition is that I want to be the only one in the world. I want to conquer the world. I want to rule the world. And the other ambition is type of ambition is I want to be among the best in the world. I want to learn from them and perhaps try to work harder at raising the bar above their performances. And I think you belong to the latter quality, Aditya. I want to share something that I totally believe in, and I think at some point in life it may apply to you. You said you did engage a lot in Sufi music. Did you get to learn any Hindi or Urdu at all?
Not really. I'm still struggling with Hindi and Urdu, but I'm in total love with Urdu. I really love the language. I just go to the Qawwali session. I sit and I just immerse myself there. So it's great, but I've not managed to be very, very good at it. Yeah.
But so I'll translate this for everyone's benefit. This is actually written by Allama Iqbal, the famous Muslim poet. I'm repeating the word Muslim for a reason. He's a Muslim poet who was born in what is today Pakistan, but he's famous for a different reason in India. he wrote Sare Jahan Se Acha, Hindustan Hamara. He wrote those lines and that entire poem. So that's the reason why I said he's a Muslim poet. So one of the greatest songs about India and Indian patriotic fervor was written by a Muslim, and I personally wanted to say that and underline that. But the line that I'm going to quote to you is something about that sums up the essence of what you've learned and what you will employ in your life going forward, which is खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा ये बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. So खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना really means that make your contribution so unputdownable that before the next destiny is written, your next destiny is written, the creator asks you, what do you want to be created as? So which means you are now the master of the creator because your contribution has been so vital, so unputdownable. And I think that entire experience that you narrated has those flavors written all over it. And I really hope that 20 years later, when you're reflecting back on your journey, this quote from Allama Iqbal will appeal to you. So thank you for sharing that part of your journey. Let me now move to Kumaran's story. Kumaran, picking up, if I know the nature of your work correctly, you were based in Gurgaon, as in your company is based in Gurgaon,
Yes.
and your projects are often in different parts of the country, in faraway locations. For example, people today, Kumaran is joining us from Barmer in Rajasthan, where he is on a project. And so you're far away, in somehow remote locations at many times. And yet, how did this love for stand-up paddling grow in you for SUP? How did it grow in you? How come the passion didn't dry up, Kumaran?
Yeah, sir, that's the good question. I work in Gurgaon, right? The time of 2014 end and 2000 till February month, I was doing a lot of SUP. Before joining the duty in 2 months, one of my attempt was recognized as a Limca record, and it gave a lot of credibility. So what I'm giving and instant connection at the same time that there was a fruitful result. Okay, instant the newspaper or credibility and people started seeing what I'm doing at the time where there was a crisis in the sense still now the oil and gas is not recovered, right? அப்ப நான் வேலை செஞ்ச இடம் வந்து arid region. Gurgaon வந்து it's a semi desert, right? And most of the project is around Rajasthan. தண்ணியே இருக்காது சுத்தமா. There was a challenge. நான் வந்து join பண்ண duty. அப்புறம் வந்து என்னாச்சு, on and off job போயிடுச்சு. So இந்த ரெக்கார்ட் முடிஞ்ச அப்புறம் I was based in Gurgaon completely. I cannot move over. So only option, I have to come Saturday, Sunday. So எல்லா water bodies சென்னையில தான் இருக்கு, என் வீடு சென்னையில தான் இருக்கு. So I made my mind. Okay. So in the 2 months, I have a lot of understanding about the water body, policy making, nariya factors. I was very clear. So I want to continue this. So enna பண்ணுவேன், Friday 5:30 office முடிச்சு I catch flight. By 8-9 o'clock, by 9-9:30 I will be in the home. Early morning I was doing Saturday Sunday ஒரு 4 trip பண்ணுவேன். So சுத்தி இருக்க நீர்நிலைகள்லாம் luckily 2014-15 நல்ல மழை அடிச்சது. So எல்லா water bodiesமே ஃபுல்லா இருந்தது. Why I moved to from ocean இருந்து எதுக்கு லேக்ஸ்க்கு வந்தேன்னா, எல்லாராலையும் வந்து ஓஷன்ல பண்ண முடியாது பப்ளிக்ல. 99% people maybe surfing பண்ணலாம், ஆனா SUP ஓஷன்ல பண்ண முடியாது because Bay of Bengal is very choppy. So continuously கிட்டத்தட்ட 2016 end வரைக்கும் I was going almost every மாசம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா எல்லா மந்த்லி 3 வாட்டி நான் சென்னைக்கு வந்துருவேன். So slowly I was building a program. I was doing a lot of exploration at the same time. ஒரு டிஸ்கவர் SUP சொல்லிட்டு என் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், அதுக்கப்புறம் அப்பார்ட் ஃப்ரம் அவுட் சைட் பீப்புள், ஈவென்ட் ஃபேஸ்புக் ஈவென்ட் மூலியமா I was introducing the sports to the people.
Oh, okay.
ஆமா, I was introducing the sports to the people. இது வந்து 2015ல இருந்து 16 வரைக்கும் நடக்குது. ஸோ ஃப்ரைடே வருவேன், இது பண்ணுவேன், ஃபேமிலியோட கொஞ்சம் டைம் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுவேன். மண்டே மார்னிங் வந்து I will be in Gurgaon. அப்புறம் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா இது பண்ணோம்னா I will started moving to ஸ்ரீலங்கா. வீக்கெண்ட் ஸ்ரீலங்கால இருந்த ஒரு வீக்கெண்ட்ல, அடுத்த ஒரு வீக்கெண்ட்ல வந்து I was in காஷ்மீர், டல் லேக்ல இருந்தோம். அப்புறம் லங்காவி. ஏன் இப்படி பண்ணனா, I need a better understanding about the different water bodies. So slower from sports, I want to introduce this to the public. So எனக்கு அந்த பெரிய புரிதல் இருக்கணும். ஏன்னா அதுல நிறைய ரிஸ்க் எல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல. ஸோ பேக் வாட்டர், ஓஷன், ரிவர்ஸ் ஸ்லோ ஒன்னொன்னா கவர் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஸோ இந்த மீன் டைம் திஸ் இஸ் ஆல்சோ ரெகக்னைஸ் அஸ் எ ரெக்கார்ட். அது ஒன்று பண்ணோம். தென் இன்னொரு ரெக்கார்ட் வந்து கோதாவரியில பண்ணும் போது அது ஒரு ரெக்கார்ட். ஸோ இப்படிதான் சார் இந்த பயணம் ஆரம்பிச்சு.
Oh, so every weekend, Friday nights would be back to Chennai and Monday morning.
Chennai or some other country.
Or some other country, and
Monday. Other country, and will be on Monday. I will be in the office.
This is amazing, right? So and you were doing this despite the fact that there was so much travel involved, and it might have taken a physical toll on you. Travel, adukapra stand up paddling pannanom. So ஒரு slightly ஒரு madness இருந்திருக்குல்ல?
அந்த மேட்னஸ் பிகாஸ் அந்த டோல் இருந்தாலும் மை என்ன பண்றது, this is a big sports, right? It's a complete core sports. ஸோ என்னோட ஸ்டாமினாவும் இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆகிட்டே இருந்தது. அட் த சேம் டைம் ஒவ்வொரு வாட்டர் பாடி பார்க்கும்போது புது அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் இருக்கும். அந்த ஒவ்வொரு இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கனெக்ஷன் இருக்கும். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் டல் லேக்ல பண்ணும்போது நோபடி எவர் டிட் ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் பேட்லிங் தேர். அவங்க பார்க்கும்போது புதுசா இருக்கும். அப்புறம் ஸ்ரீலங்கால நம்ம பண்ணும்போது ஒரு பெரிய crocodile பக்கத்துல போகுது. ஆமா. ஸோ அது வந்து ஐ ஷுட் பி மோர் கேர்ஃபுல் நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம். அது மாதிரி நிறைய லேர்னிங்ஸ்லாம் இருந்தது.
So the key point here is ஒரு தடவை பண்ணும்போது ஒரு இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கனெக்ஷன் இருந்தது. And the slight madness இருந்தது. You know, you must walk. You have been walking the line of lunacy almost. Trying to come every weekend and do this.
And at the same time, sir, sorry. At the same time, slowly I am getting a vision. கொஞ்சமா எதுக்காக இதை பண்றோம், ஏன் இவ்வளவு வாட்டர் பாடி நம்ம பண்றோம், அப்புறம் நிறைய புரியுதல் அந்த பாலிசி மேக்கிங், என்ன சேஞ்ச் ஒரு தனி மனுஷனா பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு 2015 இருந்து 16 எண்ட் வரைக்கும் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு.
So almost to borrow Aditya's lingo, like A.R. Rahman's music, stand-up paddling was growing on you. ஒரு விதத்துல உங்களை கவர்ச்சி பண்ணி உங்களை எம்ப்ரேஸ் பண்ணி அதை அணைச்சி கூட்டிட்டு போயிட்டு இருந்தது. What I am essentially picking up is, you see, creation is magical. He already said that he had a deep love for mountains, nature, and the explorations with SUP helped him engage and immerse himself more with nature. Creation by itself is very magical, because why do we lose ourselves in front of a water body? Why do we lose ourselves in front of a mountain? அப்படியே பிரமிச்சு போய் நின்னுடுறோம். We are like mesmerized by nature's by natural wonders and beauty around us. We are mesmerized. Why does that happen? You know, we are created from the same source. You and I are born without asking to be born. So we are created, and the source of creation of nature, source of creation of all the species, and the source of creation for us humans remains the same. Why is there a distance between us and nature? It is a man-made human distance. The economic theory of our existence, money as an object, are all man-made inventions. Nature didn't think of this. This is a human invention. It's a human utility. And as long as we focus on that utility and that bubble of earning a living, this magic will not happen. This lunacy, this madness will not happen. But the moment you step out of it and you are willing to be taken along by life, you will flow with life. That is the power of bliss. That is the power of following your bliss. So thank you so much for sharing this, that triggered this thought in me. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Kumaran, let me go on to the next question. So at some point in your life, you notch up a lot of records, but now you say that you moved beyond the records. For you, it is not just a sport anymore. For you, it is not just records anymore. And something has happened to you for you to believe that this is your life's purpose. So how did that happen to you?
So இப்போ 2016 நம்ம வந்துட்டோம், 15-16 வந்துட்டோம். அப்போ ஆல்ரெடி we did lot of water bodies, and at the same time there was a community ஒரு பில்டப் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன். அதுக்கு பேர் வைக்கல இப்போ பேடல் ஃபார் ஃபியூச்சர் சொல்லிட்டு, பட் தேர் வாஸ் அ கம்யூனிட்டி அண்ட் வாலண்டியர்ஸ்லாம் வந்துட்டாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் 2016 எண்டில் அஸ் நேச்சர் கால்ட் மீ அகைன், இட் கேவ் மீ ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி. இப்போ கேஞ்சஸ் எஸ்யூபின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு பெரிய எக்ஸ்பெடிஷன். அது வந்து கேஞ்சஸ் உருவாகிற இடத்துல இருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு அண்ட் இட் கோஸ் அப் டு தி எண்ட் ரிவர் மவுத். கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 3000 கிலோமீட்டர்ஸ், ஒரு வேர்ல்ட் ரெக்கார்ட் அட்டெம்ப்ட். அதுல வந்து நிறைய ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ் இருந்தது. ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து இதுவும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு 2 நிமிஷம் தான் ஆச்சு. ஒரு மெயில் வந்தது, பார்த்தேன், ஐ கனெக்டட் வித் த டீம். ஐ செட் ஓகே, ஐ எம் கோயிங் ஃபார் திஸ். எதுக்காகனா எனக்கு பெரிய ஒரு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் தேவைப்பட்டுச்சு, புரிதல் தேவைப்பட்டுச்சு. ஒரு ரெக்கார்ட்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டோம், அப்புறம் ஒரு ரெகனைஸ்ட் ஆயிடுச்சு ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் பேடலிங்ல இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்புறம் என்ன பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு எண்ட் ஆஃப் த பர்பஸே பாத்தீங்கன்னா எப்படி இந்த நீர்நிலைகளை நம்ம வந்து ஒரு தனி மனுஷனா எப்படி வந்து நம்ம காப்பாற்ற முடியும். தேர் ஆர் லாட் ஆஃப் வேஸ். இது ஒரு புது வழியா இருந்தது, ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் டூலா இருந்தது. அப்ப எனக்கு இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட் தேவைப்பட்டுச்சு. 3 மாசம் வேலையை விட்டு போனோம். என்னோட சோர்ஸ் ஆஃப் பிரெட் அண்ட் பட்டரே வந்து அந்த ப்ரொஃபஷன் தான். ஸோ என்ன பண்ணா, ஐ டேக் அ கால். ஐ டுக் 3 months அன்பெய்ட் லீவ். ஒரு லோன் எடுத்துட்டு, ஏன்னா வீட்டுல ஃபீட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ ஒரு பகுதி கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 6 லட்சம் வீட்டுல கொடுத்துட்டு மீதி தொகையை வச்சுட்டு நான் வந்து இந்த எக்ஸ்பெடிஷன் பண்ணேன். ஸோ இட் வாஸ் 3 months. இதுலயும் போகும்போது ஒரு பெரிய சேஞ்ச் இருந்தது. டால்பின்ஸ், கேஞ்சஸ் டால்பின்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் பேடலர் மூலியமா, ஒரு ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் மூலியமா ப்ராப்பர் சென்சஸ் எடுத்து வி டிட் தட். பிகாஸ் அந்த சென்சஸ் வந்து நிறைய, இட் டேக்ஸ் மோர் தென் 100 crores டு தட் சென்சஸ். அது ஒரு மெத்தடாலஜி புதுசா நம்ம ரெடி பண்ணி அதுல பண்ணோம். அந்த கேஞ்சஸ் எக்ஸ்பெடிஷன்ல சக்சஸ்ஃபுல்லா ஃபினிஷ்ட். 100 டேஸ்ல அது பண்ணோம். அது முடிக்கும் போது ஜான்வரி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வீக்ல நம்ம முடிச்சோம் கங்காசாகர் இதுல. அப்ப அது முடிக்கும் போது நான் இன்னும் ரொம்ப சின்னதா இருந்தேன் நேச்சருக்கு முன்னாடி. எவ்வளவு பெருசு அந்த கேஞ்சஸ் allowed me to paddle. அந்த ஒரு ரொம்ப மிகப்பெரிய நதி கேஞ்சஸ் சொல்லும் போது குரூப்ஸ் ஆஃப் ரிவர்ஸ். கேஞ்சஸ்னா ஒரு கங்கானா ஒரு நதி மட்டும் இல்ல. பீகார் கிட்ட போகும்போதெல்லாம் கிட்டத்தட்ட 5 கிலோமீட்டர் 6 கிலோமீட்டர் வித்து இருக்கும். நான் என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, அதை அலோவ் பண்ணிச்சுன்னு தான் சொல்ல முடியும். இட் ஹம்பிளி allowed me to complete it and it said there is a purpose. அதுக்கப்புறம் வரும்போது அந்த வந்து முடிச்சோன்னு தான் பேடல் ஃபார் ஃபியூச்சர் சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம் இது பண்றேன். ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம் ப்ராப்பரா கான்கிரீட்டா பண்றோம், கன்சாலிடேட் பண்றேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு டேக் லைன், கனெக்ட் வித் நேச்சர். அப்ப ஐ வாஸ் வெரி கிளியர். 2017 ஐ வாஸ் வெரி கிளியர். அண்ட் த நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப் இஸ் ஐ வாண்ட் டு see a place, ஒரு பெர்மனன்ட் ஃபெசிலிட்டி. பிகாஸ் என் ப்ரோக்ராம் எல்லாம் மொபைல் ப்ரோக்ராம் தான். ஒரு ஸ்கார்பியோல எல்லாம் பேடல் போர்ட்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு வந்து பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன். ஸோ அந்த பயணம் அப்படிதான் சார் ஆரம்பிச்சது. 2017க்கு மேல வேற ஒரு பெரிய புரிதல் இருக்கு.
So you now have Paddle for Future set up in 2 campuses in Tamil Nadu, right? One in Chennai, one in Chidambaram.
Chennai, which is in Vengai Vasal, which is my home, where I have ஒரு இன்வென்ட்ரி, பெரிய இன்வென்ட்ரி இருக்குங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் சிதம்பரத்துல போய் ஒரு இடம் நியர் கொள்ளிடம். ஏன் அங்க எடுத்தோம்னா, சென்னை கோஸ்ட்ல இருந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட கடலூர் வரைக்கும் எல்லா நீர்நிலைக்குமே பொல்யூட் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. பிளஸ் கொஞ்சம் ஆயிருந்தாலும் இன்னும் ஒரு 10 வருஷத்துல ஃபார் ஷுவர் இட் வில், பிகாஸ் பாப்புலேஷன் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகுதுல்ல, அதுல பாத்தீங்கன்னா இன்னும் பொல்யூஷன் அதிகமாகும். ஸோ அதனால கிட்டத்தட்ட எனக்கே 1 வருஷம் ஆச்சு. அந்த 2017ல வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவ்வளவு தமிழ்நாடு ஃபுல்லா நம்ம எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணிட்டு ஃபைனலி ஐ காட் திஸ் பிளேஸ், ரிவர் கொள்ளிடம், விச் இஸ் த லார்ஜஸ்ட் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட்டரி ஆஃப் காவேரி. ஸோ சிதம்பரம், பிச்சாவரம் பக்கத்துல, சிதம்பரம் டவுன் பக்கத்துல பியூட்டிஃபுல் லொகேஷன் இருந்தது. அங்க we have did a place, permanent camp. Camp is a big facility where it's not only paddling, it's an experiential school. ஏன்னா பிள்ளைங்களுக்கு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா
for paddle for future.
Paddle for future, it's called the Mangrove Bay Eco Camp.
Okay.
It is functioning and we have some staff also there, certified staff.
Wow. So you've actually gone from just being a sport to records to purpose to an organizational level to preserve and conserve and promote awareness of our water bodies. So, let me quickly summarize for the benefit of those that may not have picked up the detail there. He gets an email. In 2 minutes, he's made a decision. He brings in money. He gives half the money to his family to take care of their needs, and the other half he invests in the campaign on the Ganges from Devprayag to Gangasagar, a 101-day campaign. which includes, apart from promoting awareness of of conservation, also includes the dolphin census. And the most important point he mentioned, that's where the crux of his journey lies. He says that the Ganges allowed him, embraced him, gave him the opportunity to do stand-up paddling on the Ganges. And that he made him reflect and understand that there must be a purpose to this. And what can that purpose be? That exploration of that question led him to set up Paddle for Future, which today is a full-fledged organization promoting sports and awareness of eco-conservation in 2 campuses in Tamil Nadu. That's really what he said. But I want to focus on that part where he says there must be a purpose to this. This is a very, very important question. You know, the word purpose in English does not do justice to this idea of purpose itself. The true meaning of purpose can be understood if you look into the French language. In French, purpose is defined as raison d'être. Raison d'être means reason for existence. Now, existence, according to me and Vani, we often talk about it, is a very weak word. You know, things exist, but human beings thrive. We are not supposed to exist. We are full of life. We must be alive. We must thrive. So I will change the word raison d'être, reason for existence. I'll change it to reason for creation. When you look out of your earning a living bubble, then the Ganges makes way, doors open, as Campbell says, and you think you have discovered your life's purpose, but actually your life's purpose has discovered you and selected you. Correct, Kumaran? The feeling dane irukum, right? So amazing. That's what I'm picking up from your journey. So let me now go to Aditya and pick up my conversation with Aditya there. We're doing great on time, so just so that both of you know. So Aditya, quickly, I have a question for you. This is going to be a slightly tough question, I think so, because why did you, if you were so drawn into the world of music, why did you parallelly process during those 4 years at KM? You also parallelly process your BCom, you do CA, you do company secretaryship, then you go on and keep a job for 6 months after that, and then you quit that job. So is there a lack of focus somewhere, Aditya? Is there like too much trying to do too many things at the same time?
Yeah, it's a good question, and quite a number of people have actually asked me the same thing. But I believe being a cricketer for a significant part of my life, the game of cricket has taught me something. I see game of cricket, I see the game of life, right? Back in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, you just had to be an exemplary batsman, or you had to be an exemplary bowler, and there was no sense of all-rounders coming into the picture. So there were sloppy fielders who used to be lethargic in the field, but they used to be in the team because they're really, really good batsmen. So that's when I realized that, even if you're not able to contribute in one way in life, there are multiple ways you can contribute. If you're not a good batsman, you could be a good bowler, you could be a good fielder, and in any other way that you could. And being very, very good at multiple things will come in handy. And that's something I believed, and that was my takeaway from cricket as a sport. And sometimes it's also meaningful to be realistic in life, considering that we are sort of used to a standard of living. And a simple story in my KM days is we actually got to meet a singer from Rajasthan who happens to be one of the most talented. I actually call him Junior Kailash. He's so exemplary talented. And there was one day he walks up to me and says, why I want to eat chola puri, can you give me $100? I would actually rate him like 2000 times more talented than what I am. When I see an artist so talented struggling like that, that gives me a doubt for myself. I'm like, am I doing this right? When people are so skilled, when there are people who are so very talented are struggling, it's not going to be an easy journey for me. It's not going to be an easy journey for anybody for that matter. And that's when I had to be quite realistic with life and ensure that, I ride a couple of horses at the same time to ensure that, life is quite stable. So it had to happen that way. And I feel going that way is better than, sort of giving up on your dreams and giving up on what you essentially like in life. So no focus is, again, I told you, I just prefer to be an all-rounder, and nobody complains to have an all-rounder in their team, do they?
Aditya, where do you get all this perspective from, man? I am really, really becoming a big fan of you through this conversation. For your age, I wish I had so much wisdom at your age. But before I go on to summarize what you just talked about and share my takeaway, I have an allied question. So between all the all-round activities that you do, I mean, you run even your family's organic farm, and then you are this qualified chartered accountant and a company secretary, and then you make music. I mean, thousands of compositions. What is number one priority, and what will always remain there?
Yeah, I think it'll always be music, undoubtedly. There's no second thought on that. I mean, any process that actually makes you forget yourself, I think it's worth pursuing. So, undoubtedly music.
So beautiful, so beautiful. You hit the ball out of the park, young man. So, way back, I read a piece by Peter Drucker, the management guru, called "Managing Oneself," and in that piece, and you can Google and find this. It's available on the internet. It's an essay that he wrote for Harvard Business Review. Peter Drucker says that in order to manage yourself, you need to know what your strengths are. You need to know how you work. You need to know what your values are. You need to know where you belong, and you need to know how you can contribute. And he said basically 5 things you need to know about yourself in order to manage yourself. So essentially, Drucker was pointing to it's a very powerful transformational essay for 20 pages long. Makes you introspect, makes you review your life, and it is essentially about managing yourself. Is about knowing yourself and how well you know yourself. This is what struck me through this question and your answer, that you know yourself to the point that you know that you don't want to starve. You know that you don't want to be in a situation where you're not practical and realistic about the demands of progressing in a career, and particularly with art, where it could take a long time. So beautiful, very, very powerful there. And I do have a question on forgetting yourself. I'll come to that later, but I'll go on to my next question here. Music is an ocean, and to get recognition or even a toehold in it, in that space. When I say music, I mean commercial music also is an ocean by itself. And to get a toehold and recognition there may take an entire lifetime. You're still so young. So how do you deal with social pressure, self-doubt? Do you go through moments of, am I on the right track? Am I losing my plot? Do these questions arise in you? How do you deal with them?
I think we're all human, and I mean, everybody has those questions, irrespective of the kind of field they are in. A self-doubt is something that's quite inevitable most of the lives of people. But a large number of times I've had my doubts. I've thought to myself that I lack clarity. I've thought to myself on what I exactly need to focus on, how to manage my timelines. And I've also been disappointed, mentally, when I don't expect the results for the hard work that I've put in terms of, you spend countless number of months working on a composition and it may not do well. And you might not get the recognition for something you've worked really hard for. And there's a lesson from college that I learned. There was this post of presidency for a club in college. And I was quite disappointed that I did not happen to get that batch. And it went to a very dear friend of mine. I was speaking to myself and I was blaming God. I said, I'm more deserving for that batch, and I truly deserve to have that batch. And I went to my mom and I said that, and she said, there should be a reason why you didn't get that. And you just believe that whatever happens, happens for the best. And exactly a couple of years later, I get to listen to the news of his demise, and he was fighting cancer and he passed away. uh, and that's when I realized that, some things. Then I thought to myself that, what, he actually deserves that badge, and I have no regrets about not having that badge at that point of time. And I probably believe that maybe something even better is waiting for us and is in store for us. So the universe, I believe, signals multiple things to us. It's upon us to gather those offerings and convert them into positivity. So I think life is beautiful in the sense that a lot of messages are conveyed by the universe, and it's upon us to capture it and live life accordingly.
Wow. This is philosopher Aditya talking to us, not just a musician Aditya, but this is amazing. I loved your take on that. My takeaway there is staying anchored to what you believe is giving you joy will help you stay focused. And if you're anchored and if you're not responding to every stimuli, somebody, there was this, when you were not even born, perhaps, this ad came on Indian television. So some people my age relate to it, from Rin, which said, Bhala uski kameez, meri kameez se safed kaise? How is his shirt whiter and brighter than mine? It was a Rin commercial, TV commercial. So if we start looking at people around us and start comparing ourselves with them, self-doubt and social pressure will build up. It'll take our focus away. And therefore, it's extremely important to stay grounded. And you seem to have it very intuitively in you. That's amazing. What I also liked about your answer, Aditya, is that you said that perhaps he deserved it more, and the universe has its way of giving people what they rightly deserve. This that is indeed true. That everything in life happens exactly in its own time, at its own pace, and reaches the people that need to have it at that time. So kismat se zyada or samay se pehle. So more than what you are ordained or ahead of your time, you get nothing in life. So I'm glad you learned that lesson through an experience yourself. Thank you for sharing it so candidly. Kumaran, I'll finish with Aditya and then come to you for the last question for the evening.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm in a flow with Aditya, so I'll finish it and then I'll come to you with the last question. Aditya, this may well be my last question for you for today, which is, what does music do to you? You talked about forgetting yourself, but can you elaborate a little bit more? What does making music do to you? What about it wakes you up and keeps you awake?
I think what music does to me is it's a parallel universe, according to me. It's like you go into a completely different world, you forget yourself, you immerse yourself in a particular zone, and yeah, as I mentioned before, it's something that cannot be explained in words. But what it does to me is it instantly changes my mood. It changes the way I think about life. It changes about different perceptions I've got. I may be in a very angry mood, but once I get into music, it actually calms me down so very well. And having multiple things on my plate, it always serves as a very, very good source of kind of calming things down and ensure that I'm not too worrying about so many things on my plate. So, music, to say the least, I think it's a blessing in my life, and it's been a source of passion. It's been a source of calm. It's been a source of bliss.
Very, very well said. It's a blessing. I like the word. Music is a blessing. Of course, it is a blessing. And the bigger blessing is that you know that it is touching your life in a very special way, and you lose yourself in it. Osho has said this. He says, when you create anything, you disappear from the scene, and the creator creates through you. You become inconsequential, you're only an instrument, and the creator creates through you. That's what Osho has said. So when you say, I forget myself, you're actually disappearing from that scene. And creation is creating through you. Now, this disappearing act can happen only when if you're happy. Now, take up a chore or an activity that you're unhappy about. And people on the call, please think about it yourself. When you do something that you're extremely unhappy about doing, this disappearance doesn't happen. Because then there is no flow, there is resistance. You're resisting the idea of doing what you have to do, but you're ending up doing it because there is no other choice. So there is resistance, and therefore you don't disappear. Now take an activity that you love doing. In Aditya's case, it's music. In Kumaran's case, it's stand-up paddling, nature, the romance of being one with nature. In my case, it is writing, it is sharing human stories. In Vani's case, it's the same thing, but she additionally does something that she thoroughly enjoys, which is cooking or gardening. And so it is for different people. Choose an activity where you lose yourself, and you will find that disappearing act happening in you as well. So only when you are happy, you disappear and creation takes over. And that is why it is called bliss. And that is where we search for words. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Aditya. Lovely answer there. Let me now go to Kumaran for what, and let me see if I do have time. I'll still squeeze in a question for both of you. But now, Kumaran, I have an important question for you. If you take stand-up paddling, Kumaran, it's a lonely space in India, particularly. It is not a very common sport in India. And in this not so common area, you are investing time and resources. And you're not getting any younger. You're probably closing in the next few years at 40, which is when middle age will hit you. And
next year, in few months, sir.
In a few months, நீங்க பார்த்தா ரொம்ப இளமையா இருக்கீங்க, அதனால few years சொன்னேன் நானு. Maybe your bliss is making you look very young. Okay, yes. It is true. So my question really is, does that very idea that you are investing so much time, so much resources in a very difficult, challenging space, does it make you feel insecure? And how do you deal with that insecurity? Why do you still go back and do it again and again?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. A lot of events happen. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to be 40 in few months. So I picked up the sports very seriously at the age of around 34 plus. So அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நிறைய ஈவெண்ட்ஸ் நடந்தது லைஃப்ல, which said life is nothing. So I was நல்ல கம்பெனில இருந்தோம், நல்ல ஜாப், கல்யாணம் அழகா ஆச்சு. பட் within a short span, அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன ஆச்சு, there are a lot of changes, up and downs happen, especially a lot of downs. அது ஒன்னு அடி வாங்கும் போது இன்னொரு இம்பெர்மனன்சி வந்துகிட்டே இருந்தது. I lost my wife during the pregnancy. அது ஒரு பெரிய ஷாக். அதுக்கப்புறம் I have a surgery also. இதெல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 15 monthsல அடிக்கு மேல அடி இருந்துகிட்டே இருந்தது. ஸோ லைஃப்ல என்ன, பட் த சேம் டைம் நான் ஜாபை விடல, ஜாப் கண்டினியூ பண்ணிட்டே இருந்தேன். பிகாஸ் அதுதான் என்னோட பிளிஸ் அந்த நேரத்துல. ஓகே, அதுதான் எனக்கு சந்தோஷம் கொடுத்தது. பிகாஸ் ஐ யூஸ் டு டிராவல் எல்லாம். ஸோ அது மாதிரி லைஃப் ஒரு வாஸ் வெரி ஷார்ட்னு எனக்கு நல்லா தெரிஞ்சது. ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாது. ஸோ என்ன வேல்யூ கிரியேஷன் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு ஒரு தேடல் இருந்துகிட்டே இருந்தது. 2014ல இந்த ஸ்டாண்டப் பேட்லிங் எனக்கு கிடைச்சது. இட் கேவ் மீ ஆல் த சொல்யூஷன். ஸோ கிவ் மீ ஆல் சொல்யூஷன். இந்த 6 yearsல நான் இவ்வளவு ஏன் ரிசோர்சஸ் புஷ் பண்ணேன், கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 30-40% ஆஃப் மை ஃபண்டிங் இஸ் கோயிங் தேர் ஆக்சுவலி, பிகாஸ் எக்யூப்மெண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி வெரி எக்ஸ்பென்சிவ். இந்தியாவில் எஸ்யூபினா என்னன்னே தெரியாது. ஈவன் இன் ஸ்டாண்டப் பேட்லிங் ஸ்ரீலங்கால ஒரு வாட்டி ஸ்மக்லிங் ஒரு ஐட்டமான ஏர்போர்ட்ல பிடிச்சிட்டாங்க. தென் ஐ ஷோட் மை கூகுள் பேஜ். ஸோ அது மாதிரி நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி ஒரு ரேரான ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ், பட் நவ் இட்ஸ் பிகம் பாப்புலர் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் பேடல் ஃபார் ஃபியூச்சர். எல்லாருக்கும் தெரிய வருது. ஸோ இந்த ஒரு 6 yearsல லாட் ஆஃப் ரிசோர்சஸ் எல்லாமே ஏன் பண்ணா, ஐ கேம் டு நோ லைஃப் இஸ் வெரி வெரி ஷார்ட், ரைட்? அண்ட் டைம், கொடுக்கப்பட்ட டைம் வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கு. ஸோ அதனால ஐ வாண்ட் டு கோ பேக் அகைன் அண்ட் அகைன். ஒரு கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் குடிச்சது இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ்ல. ஸோ எஸ்யூபினா எஸ்யூபி மட்டும் இல்லை சார், இது அதுக்கு மேல நிறைய விஷயம் இருக்கு. ஸோ நீரின்றி அமையாத உலகுன்னு சொல்றோம்ல, கண்ணுக்கு நேரவே எல்லா வாட்டர் பாடி. சென்னையில பாத்தீங்கன்னா 600 லேக்ஸ் இருக்குது. இப்ப கிட்டத்தட்ட பாத்தீங்கன்னா கிளீன் பாத்தீங்கன்னா அதுல ஒரு 20% கூட கிடையாது. ரைட்? ஸோ ஒரு எஸ்ஓபி ஒரு டூலா நான் பார்த்தேன். ஸோ நிறைய விஷயம் லைஃப்ல நடந்தது. இது எனக்கு ஒரு பெரிய ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டியா கிடைச்சது. அதனாலதான் இவ்வளவு ஒரு 6 வருஷத்துல இவ்வளவு வந்து நம்ம டைம் இதுக்கு ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணிக்கிட்டும் இருக்கிறோம். பிளஸ் ஜியாலஜி, அதுக்கப்புறம் எஸ்ஓபி ரெண்டுமே எனக்கு ஒரு 2 வெஹிக்கிள் மாதிரி என்னோட தேடுதல் நோக்கி. இந்த எஸ்ஓபில we are not only doing SOP, at the same time என்ன பண்றேன், எஸ்ஓபி மூலியமா I'm going to schools and talking about எர்த் ஃபார் சயின்ஸ் ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம். கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 8000 பிள்ளைங்களை ரீச் பண்ணிருக்கோம். இந்த அவேர்னஸ் கிரியேட் பண்றோம் ஜியாலஜி பத்தி, வாட்டர் பாடிஸ் பத்தி எல்லாம். இந்த நானும் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா மெச்சூரா ஆயிட்டு இருக்கேன் இந்த பயணத்துல.
Evolutionary process.
It's evolutionary process.
So the key learning there is because of those 15 months that you talked about, when you had setback after setback,
Yes.
it kind of helped you understand the impermanent nature of life.
Exactly.
And you realize that குறிப்பிட்ட நேரம் தான் நம்மகிட்ட இருக்கு. There is a specified limited period of time, and we must do something meaningful in this time, right?
For the future generation.
For our future generation. And that
And
is
every time when I go to the lake and all, ஒரு இடத்துல பண்ணும்போது I used to cry. I never tell to people, I'm telling here. அது ஒரு சந்தோஷத்திலான ஒரு வெளிப்பாடு. அது ஒரு சந்தோஷத்தை கொடுக்கும். ஒவ்வொரு வாட்டி I lost myself, as you said, ஆதித்யா சொன்ன மாதிரியும், அது அவருக்கு மியூசிக்னா he lost himself, right? அது மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு எக்ஸ்பெடிஷன்லயும் பார்த்தோன்னா ஒரு பிரம்மாண்டமா இருக்கும். அப்ப என்னையே நான் தொலைப்பேன் தான் ஒவ்வொரு வாட்டியும். ஸோ அதை நான் எத்தனை வாட்டியும் வேணாலும் செய்வேன் சார் திருப்பி.
நான் என்னையே தொலைப்பேங்கிறது வந்து நான் இங்கிலீஷ்ல டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணேன்னா I will dissolve myself, or I dissolve in the presence of nature. That is what he is saying. And he says he's ready to do it any number of times. But the question really began with the word insecurity, you know. And so when you were answering, I was seeing the beauty of what Rumi said, you know, centuries ago. Rumi said, forget the future. I will worship somebody who can do that. So the insecurity comes into our lives because we have raced forward from the present moment, from the now into the future. The future has not even arrived. It's an unborn future. But we are already thinking what will happen in the future, and we are besieged by worry, insecurity, fear, all of that. So Rumi says, forget the future. I'll worship somebody who can do that. And in your case, particularly, he'll worship you because you are also talking about being in the now. Why do you cry in the presence of nature when you're doing stand-up paddling? You cry because you are looking at the grand design.
Grand design, yes.
And you are seeing the grandness of it, and you don't have words. So your feelings are expressing themselves like this. அது வந்து ஓமர் கயாம் ரொம்ப நல்லா சொல்லியிருக்காரு. Another Persian poet, he said that be happy in this moment. This moment is your life. So the only way to deal with insecurity is and worry is to live in the moment fully, doing what you love doing. Amazing, fascinating conversation there, Kumaran and Aditya. I'm going to do a quick summary. We are on track. We will close at 8:30 as scheduled. So I'll do a quick summary, taking away what I am from both your journeys. So Kumaran's is a story of feeling low with his career, being lost, searching for something, and then finding purpose through the journey of finding stand-up paddling, and eventually finding meaning and magic in his life. That's what I'm picking up from Kumaran. From Aditya, he was actually going to London, but life took him to Tokyo. He was heading to play cricket, but life said, you know, this is music. Come on, chakle, you know, taste it. And once he tasted it, he could not give it up. You know, he dived deep into it, and magic and meaning happened in his life too. So both these people, in essence, embody the true spirit of following your bliss. See, more than bliss being something that draws you into its fold, that definitely happens. It's also a personal choice. It's also a decision to follow your bliss. And Mary Oliver, there is an American poet called Mary Oliver, and she asks a very important question, which Kumaran and Aditya have answered very unwittingly, very intuitively. And the question is, Mary Oliver, Kenji Kepanga, okay? அவங்களோட எழுத்துலயே அது வந்து கெஞ்சரா மாதிரி இருக்கும், as if she is like pleading with you. She says, tell me, what is it that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? Think about it, people. Our life is indeed wild. We may not have imagined it to be the way it has emerged for each of us. And therefore, it's beyond our wildest dreams what we are experiencing, the highs and the lows, both. And so she says, it is wild. And because it's limited period, it's also precious. So what are you going to do with this life? Are you just going to sit and complain and earn a living, eat, grow old and die? Or are you going to be alive and celebrating each moment, doing what you love doing and following your bliss? So therefore, in this context of Kumaran and Aditya's journeys, I find that they have answered that question with courage, with taking decisions. They moved in the direction of their instant connections. Aditya took a choice not to continue working anymore, because he said, whatever he needs to do, let me do it when I'm young, and yet do it as an all-rounder, rather than being a slave for a single corporation. Kumaran felt that instant connection and felt that he was being allowed by nature to follow his bliss. And therefore, he not just grabbed it with both hands, he actually seized it with both hands and dived deep into it. Thank you so much, both of you. It's been an amazing conversation, very beautifully articulated by both of you in your own special ways. For Vani and me, this is an important moment in our journey, because we bring to the end our 6th season of holding these meaningful, live, reflective, non-commercial conversations. We are ending the season on a high with both of you. Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. Lovely having you on the show. Long distance hugs to both of you. People do stay on for a few more minutes. Let me make a couple of important announcements, and then we'll close the evening. Let me share my screen. We end the current season with one second. I'm just searching for the slide. We're ending this current season today, and we are starting a new season in 2021, where both our conversations, Bliss Catchers and Happiness Conversations, are already curated for the whole year of 2021 and calendarized. We begin season 2021 with Bliss Catchers on 30th of January. And please watch your email and WhatsApp if you've already registered with us. If you're not registered with us, this is the way to register. Or if you'd like to spread the word to help people register, they need to message their name, email ID, mobile number, and name of the city they live in to 98409-78823, or on Instagram, message at the happynesswala, happiness with a Y, because it's a decision that you must take. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been quite a beautiful evening, very reflective evening, very powerful. And I want to thank both of you again for helping us do this. People enjoy the rest of the weekend and be happy. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you.